Managing your own money usually traps you in a frustrating loop. You try to build a plan, get hit with endless choices and complex math, and freeze up entirely. That is exactly why financial heuristics, simple rules of thumb, are so popular. They promise to compress hours of stressful spreadsheet modeling into a 10-second mental calculation. But standing at a financial crossroads, forced to choose between intimidating math or blindly trusting a generic rule, is a terrible position. The hidden catch is that while these rules are mathematically sound in an academic sense, they are functionally oblivious. They don't know your salary, your outstanding debt, or your specific goals. Relying on a rigid formula without knowing exactly where it breaks down doesn't eliminate your risk. It just creates a dangerous false sense of security. Most people handle this friction by falling into one of two camps. You either become a spreadsheet optimizer tracking every penny, or a heuristic investor running on autopilot. This table compares the two. The optimizer spends hours on complex equations for a perfect answer. The heuristic investor uses basic logic to decide instantly. The speed is great, but ignores life variables, like medical debt, changing timelines, or inflation. We need to evaluate the 10 most common personal finance rules, map out exactly when they work, and expose the specific conditions that cause them to fail. By the end of this, you will know how to adjust these rules to fit your exact situation, dodging catastrophic errors while keeping the math incredibly simple. Let's start with the baseline rules that control how you deploy your paycheck, the 50-30-20 budget and the invest first rule. Looking at this scorecard, we can see the exact inputs. You cap your non-negotiable needs at 50% of your income, allocate 30% to wants, and automatically invest the remaining 20% in the very first week of the month. When applied, this framework forces you to live below your means. Investing first ensures you never reach the end of the month wondering where your wealth went. But look at the trade-off. If you earn an entry-level salary while living in a high-cost city, keeping your rent, groceries, and utilities under half your take-home pay is highly restrictive, if not completely impossible. These baseline rules enforce behavioral discipline, but they require you to already have a certain level of income flexibility to execute them without breaking your budget. Once you are investing, the focus shifts to defense. The standard playbook relies on the 6x emergency fund and the 20x term life insurance rule. This defensive scorecard breaks down the requirements. Park 6 times your monthly expenses in an auto-sweep savings account and secure a pure term life policy worth 20 times your annual salary. The benefit is clear. A sudden job loss or medical bill won't force you to liquidate your investments, protecting your primary compounding engine from permanent interruptions. You can even stack the 3x3x3 framework on top of this, splitting your surplus cash into debt repayment, pensions, and gold to build an additional layer of protection against macroeconomic shocks. The trade-off is that the 6x rule traps significant capital in conservative, low-yield accounts. And buying 20x insurance coverage is an unnecessary drain on your monthly cash flow if you have zero financial dependence. Risk shields effectively buy you peace of mind, but they achieve that directly at the expense of maximum capital efficiency. The next set of rules attempts to balance your wealth creation against your debt limits. Here we see the rule of 72, the 100 minus age allocation, and the 40% EMI rule. This scorecard outlines the mechanics. It limits your total monthly loan payments to no more than 40% of your income, and dictates that the percentage of your portfolio held in equities should equal 100 minus your current age. The intended outcome is a structure that keeps your debt payments manageable today, while automatically scaling down your investment risk as you get older. But the heuristic has a critical flaw. The 100 minus age rule calculates your risk capacity based purely on birthdays, remaining completely blind to your actual personal liabilities. If you carry toxic, high-interest loans, any aggressive market returns you generate are violently dragged backward by the math of what you owe. Applying a generic equity allocation strategy without first neutralizing your expensive debt is the most dangerous blind spot in personal finance. Finally, we reach the ultimate financial endgame rule: accumulating a retirement corpus equal to 25 times your annual expenses. This data chart shows how a 25x multiplier interacts with a standard 4% safe withdrawal rate. Over a traditional retirement timeline, the compounding curve stays comfortably above water. The entire rule is built on one core assumption, that your corpus will generate enough passive interest to sustain your exact current lifestyle indefinitely. But if you try to retire early at age 40 and global interest rates drop closer to 2%, that same line plummets straight to zero before you hit your life expectancy. Early retirees face a harsh mathematical trade-off. To survive decades of inflation and fluctuating rates, you have to abandon the 25x rule and aim for a 40x or even 50x multiplier. Extending your time horizon shatters standard retirement math. If your goal is ultimate financial independence, you cannot rely on the baseline rule. You must calibrate the exact numbers yourself. Financial rules operate a lot like medicine. They are highly effective for the general population, but if you have a specific situational allergy to the ingredients, they will hurt you. This matrix maps out exactly which rules apply to you, based on your current existing wealth on the x-axis and your financial knowledge on the y-axis. If you are an overwhelmed beginner, stay in the strict baseline quadrant. Focus exclusively on the 50-30-20 budget and invest first rules, and ignore complex optimizations. If you are a leveraged professional carrying mortgages or business loans, operate in the boundaries quadrant. The 40% EMI cap and the 6x auto sweep emergency fund are non-negotiable lifelines to prioritize before you chase aggressive equity gains. And if you are an aspiring optimizer, you belong in the customized quadrant. You must abandon generic formulas like the 25x and 100 age rules, recalculating everything for early retirement timelines and a higher risk tolerance. Knowing exactly who the rule is built for is far more important than memorizing the rule itself. Pursuing a mathematically perfect, totally custom spreadsheet often stops people from executing a plan that is good enough to start building wealth today. A simple, frictionless system that actually runs in the background beats a flawless spreadsheet that requires an hour of daily effort to maintain. Automate your baseline heuristics today so your money starts working immediately, but schedule an annual review to adjust the math as your salary, debts, and life goals change. Financial rules are essential guardrails that keep you moving safely on the road, but you still have to be the one steering the car based on the weather outside.